I'm really excited about this one. We're gonna have a card selected. So go ahead and touch any one at all that you want. This one, remember that card, do not forget it. I'm going to leave the cards technically on the table, but if you were here, I would technically hand you the whole deck for you to hold in your hands. That way you know there's no trickery going on. Then I'm going to pull up here. Let's do my stopwatch. I'm gonna have you stop the stopwatch at any time, but before you do, we're going to use the milliseconds. We're gonna count down to that card. So whatever milliseconds we get, go ahead. That's, okay, well, we can't count down 82 cards, so let's do it one more time, and then do it again. 70, we can't do 71, try it one more time, let's see. We need a number below 52. We only have 52 cards, go ahead. And 19. So 19, let's see, 19. Again, this would be in your hands. You would be doing everything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. What was the card? 2 of diamonds. And there you go, the 2 of diamonds at 19. This is my answer to one of my biggest problems, which is usually when you have a card selected from your spectators and returned. We'll just have it right here, it's sticking up. And when we push it in, usually we have to keep a break or we have to have some sort of gimmicks to keep control over that card. Well, this is my solution to that. I technically still have control over that card and I can show it to you right here. So if you want to learn how to do that, stick around. But if you want to learn multiple different tricks, multiple different uses, make sure you stay till the very end, which I will go very quickly over multiple uses with this one little trick. Hello and welcome. I'm Javier Fuenmayer. Thank you so much for being here today. I do want to mention that this is actually the second time that I'm making this video. The first time, all of the footage completely got deleted. I tried to salvage it as much as I possibly could to get you guys the video last Monday, but unfortunately I couldn't do it. So we're working on it right now. For the past few weeks, we have been building gimmicks on Post-it notes, crayons, gums, multiple different everyday objects. So I figured for this week, or I should say for the previous week, I wanted to do a completely sleight of hand tutorial. I've noticed in the comments, which by the way, thank you so much for everyone writing the comments. I try to read and reply to every single one, but I've noticed that a lot of you are beginners in magic. Some of you have just a couple months, which is why I'm also including a very simple technique in which you could do this same move. So if you're a complete beginner, I still have something for you in this video. I do want to mention that it may seem pretty simple at first, but it's taking me quite some time to get it to this point. Now, I like to use this in order to like disarm whenever I'm performing for magicians, and I really don't want them to know that I'm controlling a card or still have access to it. But I also like to use this with lay people because it's completely disarming and the deck is not in my hand. So there's no way I could have some sort of control over the card. What I wanted to do, which is basically how I came up with this, is have any card from the middle of the deck, and the moment that card was pushed back into the deck, I could dribble the cards and still have control over the card. Now, I could just control it in that way as I hand the deck to the spectator. I could get a peek of that card. But in essence, because that is technically what I wanted to accomplish, just push that. I'm not going to do it this time, but just push that in and still have control over that card. And I think I did it really small and I should still have, yeah, there it is. So I still have control over the card, but that's basically what I wanted to do. So I just backwards engineered how to do that. Now, I encourage you to see how you want to have the card returned into the deck, somewhere that it fits you personally, and then working a method out of that. Now, let's get into the workings of the Sleight. It is very, very simple. You will see, for instance, if we take the ace of diamonds, we'll put it sticking out. It doesn't really matter where in the deck The idea is that we're going to push the card inside. In reality, is not going to go straight in, is going to start going in and then it'll shift sideways. We're going to do that by applying a little pressure with the pinky on the corner that your pinky contacts that card. And then as the card gets pushed in, the moment you start to feel the edge of the deck against your fingers here, the ring in the middle, you're going to start pushing in while keeping that pinky with the pressure down. What that's going to do is it's going to kick that card out. Okay, so I'm going to do it a little bit extra exaggerated here. Okay, rather than pushing it all the way, we'll keep it there and I'll show you from this angle and you'll see that the card starts to shift. That's because I'm pushing forward with that pinky and down with these two little fingers. Then all I do is move that pinky sideways and that kicks the card out. So if I were to do this move right here in front of you, you'll see that as we push the card, it goes down. Now you may notice a problem, and that is that as we push that card in, you'll see that when we kick that pinky, there's some sort of weird movement and you can't really hide it. So what you could do is a couple of things. I like to, when I push the card in, you could just shake this and say that it's somewhere in the middle. Or the way I came up with this was to come over and use that pressure to bevel the deck so that we can dribble it. So the reason or the purpose of the pinky technically flexing or moving out is because we're dribbling. So if we blend those two motions together, you're going to be able to hide that pretty well. When practicing this, the important thing is that when you push the card inside of the deck, the moment it goes into the moment you dribble, you want to make that as little as possible. That way, you're hiding the fact that you are technically controlling the card. So it just feels like you push the card in and you drop those cards on the table, and then you can even give them a cut. Now, of course, you probably already guessed how this is working. You're just lifting on that brake, but I will get to this later. You may be asking yourself, what if I don't have a table? Well, it's completely okay. If you don't have a table, you can just throw the cards onto your hand as if your hand was the table, and you're still gonna be able to have control of that card. It works exactly the same as the card comes in. Instead of having a table, you could just use that moment to gesture and then throw the cards onto the hand. You can even toss the cards back and forth, and if you hold the deck from the top and you just push, you'll see that all the cards will square except that card. So again, from the top, if everything is messy and you just push against the side, everything will square except that card, which you can then steal if you want, or you could do whatever you want with that card. What I'm trying to accomplish with this move is just make it seem like nothing could have taken place and it was very fair. So with that in mind, you may be asking yourself, well, what about that super simple way of doing it? And this is what I could come up with so that it's super easy. If this is the first thing that you do, whenever you get the card, in this case, the Ace of Diamonds, placed back into the deck, you'll notice that these fingers are naturally there when you hold the cards. So if you just have that card directly on top and you put the deck directly on top, when you close everything, if you keep that friction on your fingers, that is going to always stay, which is going to keep that card there. Now we do the same thing we just talked about, which is grabbing the deck from the top and bottom corners, as you see there, and then putting pressure on this side of the deck while maintaining the friction on that card. If I now push against the side, you'll see that all the cards will square, and because my fingers were contacting that card will stay. Now, because I have this on top that is covering that action, and now I'm going to come over on the table and start spreading the cards on the table. Now, whenever I pick the cards up, I make sure not to push in on this side, and we do the same exact thing we did before, and then you'll see that that card still stays sticking out of the deck. You can, of course, use this for anything at all that you want. For instance, one of my favorite ways to use this is when I have a card selected, to make it more fair, I like to make it seem like I'm looking the other way. The entire time I look away, I have them touch any card, whichever card gets pulled out. Then we do the move here. And now as we tell them here, take the cards to shuffle it, that's the moment we're getting our peek. To them, it feels like you couldn't know because you were looking away the entire time. In reality, what you do is you actually do look because you have to see where you're going to cut the cards. And it is at that moment that you look, but then you look away again. You can even have the card poking out. So as you pick up the deck to hand it to your spectators, you're actually secretly getting a peek of that card and then just square it up. They'll have the deck, but you'll be able to reveal the card in whichever way you want. You could also, if you have a special card like the Ace of Spades or a Joker, and you've already had your break after you've thrown the cards onto the table, well, you could use that card to help you find their card. By just throwing it, immediately you'll be able to now show that it has found their card. Now, one of the biggest uses that I have for this is when I place the card inside and you've already done the move. I've already taught this on my YouTube channel. You're going to be able to find the link in the description, but it's this move where you can just immediately steal it and have it in cop. I showed this to Lloyd and he came up with a very good idea. So thank you so much, Lloyd, for this. But all you do is you already have a card side jogged coming out from the deck. That way, whenever you place the card back inside, you're actually placing it back in the same spot, either below or above that card you already have. That way, when you push it in, you don't have to do any sleight of hand at this point. You're just pushing the card in and you're still going to have access to the card. Whether you kept it below or above the break is going to determine how you find that card. The card is face up so you can see it, but notice if I push down on the card, I'm going to be able to bring that card to the top. Now, if I have it in the middle again, and then instead I lift up on that card, then I'm going to bring that card to the bottom of the deck. This also works if you have the deck on the table. For instance, we'll take the card, King of Hearts, place it there, and now I'm going to do the move just like this. Of course, I still have access to the King of Hearts, or you could have also just spread the cards if you wanted to. You can also use this as a peek. So when the card goes inside, as you just gesture to have them hold on to the deck, you're actually getting a peek with that same hand. You can either close it with the pinky, or if you transfer it back to the other hand, you'll close it up, but that's how you can use this as a peek. In order to do the trick that I did with the stopwatch at the beginning, I'm using a brand new app that we're going to be releasing most likely tomorrow, depending on when you're watching this video. I'll put the date so you can see it, but it's called Chronoforce Pro. It is absolutely incredible. It lets you force any number at all that you want in the milliseconds, in the total. It does a lot of things. We had a ton of fun doing the trailer, so if you want to check it out, I highly recommend it. I'll put the link in the description. But basically, all I did is I had a memorized deck, so I know the order of every single card here with a couple false shuffles. Then when you have a card selected, let's say this one, we do the move and we get the peek. In this case, the 6 of spades, that's going to be 15. So then all I have to do now, whether we want to leave the deck like this or give it a couple shuffles, is put right here on Chronoforce Pro 15. Once I do that, now if you see, once we start it and we stop it, we're just going to count at whatever milliseconds. So 81, well, we can't really count 81. And this is a built-in feature to make it seem like this is a real stopwatch. So once again, 74, and now you'll see that the number that we can use will be 15. So that's our fourth number. So now if we were to count 15, eventually that's 11, 12, 13, 14, and then 15, and then we would get the card. Let me know if you come up with any ideas using this move. Now, I do know that this is incredibly simple, but that is technically my favorite thing about this move. The simplicity, the fact that it just seems like nothing is happening is what I love the most about this. I've used this many times in my YouTube channel, and a lot of you guys have been requesting it. So here you go, I'm teaching you how I'm controlling the cards in all of those videos, which, by the way, feel free to check out all of the videos that I have in my channel. I have tons just like this, others building gimmicks using regular everyday objects. I'm sure you're gonna find something for you, so make sure you do stop by and check those videos out. I wanna thank you so much for your time. I'm Javier Fuenmayer. I'll see you next week on Monday.